Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome to our Pathwork Village. And as many of you know, we use that name with love and respect because in a village, there's a place for everybody. And everybody in the village matters, is important. And that includes each one of us. And somebody asked me recently, Brian, well, what is it about me that's important? Why does it matter if I'm here with you? And I thought about it for a moment, and my reply was because we all see the divine being in you that you often lose touch with. And we need that part, and we want to reflect that part to each other. So we'll begin in a moment with a guided meditation. And when you hear the invitation that we use to go inside, remember, this starts with the direction, yet it leads to a dimension already present within you, patiently waiting. There's nothing you need to do or get or define. Just let your awareness gently and softly go from outward, where it is most of the time, to inward. And just let the eyes soften as you go inside. Make a clear and conscious choice to bring all your attention to right here, right now, to this very breath, just this one. Let each breath be this one. Let that last one go. It's gone. The next one is non-existent. As you bring your heart's consent to bringing your attention right here, leave behind the world of thoughts and abstractions. All the great and minor distractions. Just let them all go, just like that. Each and every one is born with this natural ability. Reclaim it now with an act of positive intention. Our greatest superpower. It's right here, right now. Simply turn to it. Let everything else go. Please listen to your silence. It will feed you forever. One conscious breath in and out is a meditation. Peace is as close to you as this very breath. Now is where love breathes. Let it breathe you. Stay here, riding the breath. Let it be the sacred experience it is. We don't realize the privilege of the breath until it's taken away. With each inhale, let life come in, letting you know how much you matter. With each inhale, let the truth of this wash through you like a tide. I matter. I matter. Let the stillness take you to the core of life already inside you. Breathing is what comes naturally. It's the first thing we do when we come into the world, and the last thing we do as we leave. Visualize yourself now as a leaf on the tree of life. Feel all the nourishment Mother Nature has to offer coming into you. From her roots deep down into the earth, from the branches reaching into the light and the sky overhead. Take a few moments and soak this in, all the way in. Life wants you. Life has you. Let in the tree of life telling you, I got you. I got you. No matter which way the wind blows, no matter how fierce, feel your unbreakable connection to the tree of life. You don't have to hang on. Just let yourself be held. Just let yourself be held. Now gently widen this presence to include everyone in this gathering. There is a part of you in each one of us. A part of each one of us in you. The river that flows in you also flows in me. Taking a few moments together just to soak some more in this sweet stillness together. All that we are seeking is also seeking us. Gently taking all the time in the world, bring yourself back without any hurry. In whatever new way the breath is moving in you, let it stay here. Let it make itself home here. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and bring yourself back and just look at the faces here on the screen. And they're really people, real people. And this is a safe place. The people you know and the people you don't know yet. We're all here together. So what we're going to do now is just each take a turn in introducing ourselves. And as some of you know, you say your name, where you are on the planet. We want to have a light go on the globe, right? So we can feel that global connection. And a few words about what you're noticing right now inside of you. Okay? And anybody can begin.
I'm Laura Wager from Michigan, Northern Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say, Laura, just to help us tune in? Okay, thank you.
No, not really.
Glad you're here. Welcome.
I'm Sheila in Northern Virginia. And it seems like Brian's meditations just keep getting better and better. I feel like almost every sentence out of that meditation could be put on a poster with a sunset, or some dew on a flower. And I'm not sure I believe that everything I am seeking is also seeking me, but I would like to believe it.
Right. Well, our disbelief is a real issue. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sheila. Glad to see you.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm from Maryland. Thank you so much for the meditation, Brian. I'm just feeling very grateful to be here, feeling very peaceful.
Welcome, Victoria. And that peace is very contagious. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
For holding it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Elisa. I'm connecting from Italy, in the central part of Italy. And I'm very grateful to be here with you. Thank you, Brian, for letting me in. And thank you for this meditation, and which allowed me to relax, to receive a really profound relaxation of the body and the mind. And
Thank you, and so glad you came.
thank you.
Mhm.
Hello, everyone. This is Saida. I'm Saida, and I'm from Denmark. And I feel very content today, and very calm at the moment.
Mhm. Welcome, Saida. Glad to see you again.
You too, Brian. Thank you.
Mhm.
My name is Kay. I live in Durham, North Carolina, and I agree with Sheila, Brian. I have no words, and I am feeling that I am in the right place at the right time, and I am open to receiving.
So glad you're here, Kay.
I'm Yvonne. I'm in Daleville, Virginia. The meditation let me relive a beautiful windstorm we had here 2 days ago. Initially, I embodied that one leaf as it's just dancing around and the tree holding on to it. And then as we progressed to the whole tree, it was a beautiful connection. Just again, I stand outside during these storms and just feeling the energy of the wind and watching how the tree is flowing with it. It was nice to go back and revisit that moment 2 days ago and feel it on a deeper level. Thank you.
Beautiful, Yvonne. Welcome, and thank you for making it so real.
Hi, my name is Iracema. I am from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And I'm thinking about the end of cycles, like the end of Seven Oaks and Findhorn. I have some roots in both places. I think they are wonderful, and I'm very sad with this news.
Welcome. Glad you're here again.
I'm Sean in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. Glad to be here, and I spent a lifetime seeking. I'm now anxiously ready for what's seeking me.
I love how you say that, Sean. Glad you're here.
Well, I'm Dan. Hello, everyone. Glad to see everyone. I am feeling very calm, a little tired, and really, really appreciate the meditation. It's, I felt myself slowly, letting go of the thoughts and abstractions and, coming into the presence of, who I am, what we are right here and now. So thank you, Brian.
Good to see you, Brother Frank. Brother Dan. That's your cue, Frank. My other brother.
Yeah. Okay. Frank D'Alto, Richmond, Virginia. My mind was not so still during your meditation, although I did think it was a good meditation, but my mind has been on the concept of self-love lately. And I had some thoughts during the meditation about self-acceptance and self-compassion actually being maybe the gateway, or actually even being the action of self-love, you know, because to me, self-love is a difficult, abstract kind of concept to wrap my head around. And so I don't know, I hope we can talk a little bit more about self-love today. I don't know what you got in mind, but I'm kind of really, that's front and center for me. Thank you, Brian.
Glad you're here, Frank. And this morning you're the poster child for hanging in there with difficulty, being still. And even when it's hard, good stuff can come in. That's often when good stuff does come in, because we're up close to our edge, right?
Hi, I'm Esther Mulroy from Swampscott, Massachusetts. And so I showed up, I had hurt feelings, and so I just about a family matter. And so during the meditation, gosh, it just disappeared. It was like, you don't, you know, it's like this isn't a necessary response to what happened kind of thing. But I recognize my hurt feeling. I recognize my pride too. And during the meditation. And then I visualized, I saw this band playing, and I definitely know there is love. So I felt that love. And so the meditation was over. Hurt feelings were right back. Like that. So I kind of felt washed out a little bit. And a little bit of anxiety just because, you know, it takes a while to deal with my child, I think.
Welcome, Esther. Glad you're here. Is there anybody who, there we go, Sandy, please.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I just want to say thank you for the gathering and thank you for the meditation. And I'm not feeling really well. I'm not sure why. And coming into the meditation late, thanks for accepting me. I really appreciated the image of the tree, the leaves and the tree. And the first image that came to me was of a leaf, I could probably identify the leaf, but mainly I just want to communicate that I could feel the sunlight and like a space opened around me to kind of contain me, a safe space. And so thank you for that.
Glad you're here, Sandy, just as you are.
Thanks.
Is there anybody that hasn't spoken yet? I lose track easily. I'm always hoping there's somebody who hasn't spoken, because if everybody's spoken, then I have to go. So my name is Brian, and I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I'm not feeling particularly well myself physically. I can relate to Sandy. I'm also feeling that continuum between nervousness and excitement, you know, because I feel some responsibility here to really honor what's holding us, what's bringing us here. Yeah, as spiritual beings stumbling through a human existence where part of us is dazed and confused and wondering what's next, and is often out of touch with another part of us that's totally connected to love, to wisdom, to just being, right? And trying to hold these two realities together. And what Sean said about his draw to what is seeking us, it really opened my eyes recently when somebody said to me, it's not just that we're seeking the divine part of us. The divine part of us is also seeking to become more inhabited in the human being, right? It's really wanting to fill the human part of us and bringing all its wisdom and patience and love to the task. So, as usually is the case, I'm going to start with some words, and my words are my humble offering. There's something inside the words I hope can break free and show itself to you. What I want to say first, though, is, the focus of our gathering is to attract a higher energy into each one of us. By holding it together, all of us. It's not about general discussions. Of course, though, please share at any time. Even if I'm speaking, just raise your hand. Yet what works here to raise our vibration together is to share what you were feeling without any story trying to explain or justify how you feel that way, right? Like, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling confused. And what we will do when you say that, those of us that have some feeling like that ourselves will feel our own. And when you do, I invite you to raise your hand as just an indication of the person who just shared. I'm here with you. I really understand. So the amazing thing that happens when we just share what we're feeling without the story is it moves through us, right? Even if it's not gone, it's in a new place and we're in a new place with it. That's why it's really a value when you share it. So here's what came to me to say, and I realize these words are strong. I want to say that humanity is having a serious emergency. No surprise to anyone here, right? The planet Earth is imploding and exploding at the same time. What can we do? What can we do? What can I do, right? Part of what we're going through is the scale of the distress is so great that we feel helpless. Yet what this brings us to is the very core of this work. It's not about just our own healing and our own transformation. It's the reality, it's the knowing that the best gift I can give to life, to the world, is my own healing, and when I do, the world heals at the same time. Right? So when we feel our distress at what's going on around us, which is easy to do, right? Remember, it's up to us to do what we can, not out there, but in here. You see, by doing so, we do what is most needed to transform the energy system we're all co-generating together, right? And then we also get in touch with this place inside us that is untouchable by any outer threat. This is the real safety inside of us. So turning to what is inside us is the greatest gift we can give to everything outside of us. The planet, the universe, those we love. It's also the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Win-win. So here's a wonderful thing about this link between our own personal work and healing the planet. Because our self-discovery, our self-realization is what the world so urgently needs, all of heaven and earth are at our side in every possible way. In every way possible. So what we do here is help each other to come out from behind our human disguises that we trap ourselves in. Adyashanti says, "You are more an unseen presence than a person. A field of alive awareness permeating the body and beyond. Ram Dass says, moments when we are present give birth to miracles. Notice that key word, moments. Know that moments are enough. The Course in Miracles tells us that when we experience our true nature, even for a few seconds, we save 1,000 years of incarnatory work. So there's a common saying in English, the devil is in the details, right? Well, what does that mean? A good idea is one thing, but manifesting it is another, right? Like, what good is a beautiful vision without knowing how to touch it, right? How to join with it, how to co-create with it. So the beauty of this work is we say something else. The angel is in the details. We say this because when we give our heart's consent to turn to and stay with the simple steps, one after another, over and over again, that leads to awakening and transformation. So in the Pathwork, we have such an abundance of astonishingly rich material in the 258 lectures. There's so much, it's easy to be overwhelmed, to chase after this nugget or that gem. Which lecture should I read next, right? And you see, I'm already leaving the one I was just in. So after 30 years of fascination and devotion and resistance and surrender ongoing to this work, my real desire now is to find the simplest underlying principle in this great gift to humanity from the spiritual world. And that's what I'm really longing to bring here. And basically it's this: simple kindness to oneself is the most powerful transformational force of all. Simple kindness to myself is the most powerful transformational force of all. And I know we all agree to this in a general way, yet it's the practice of it that is so challenging, right? That's the crux here. And the reason it's challenging is because it's kindness towards the part of ourself we most dislike, judge, feel guilty about, ashamed of. Most of our distress comes from emotions and thoughts that feel all alone, and then they turn on each other. And over the course of our lifetime, we often don't know how to deal with these conflicts inside of us. So kindness towards self really is self-acceptance. Yet this does not mean self-admiration or even self-liking. It means being willing to tolerate all our emotions and thoughts, including those that make us feel uncomfortable. We do this so we can begin to understand what's really going on inside of us. And here's where the alchemy happens. As we begin to understand what's going on inside of us without trying to change it, then what we're looking at starts to change. It starts to heal. That's the quantum physics of healing, right? In the quantum world, we know that things change just by being observed. Happens on the physical level, the mental level, the emotional level, the spiritual level. So we start to realize that to be free, we can't reject any part of our experience. And so as we really start taking this in, what happens is no matter how distasteful something is to look at, the more distasteful and challenging it is, the more we know that's where the gold is, right? So, unconditional love is really an inside job. And yeah, what we have to do is turn to and look at all the conditions we place on life. I'll be happy when. I'll think you love me when, right? One of the things that Pathwork Guide wants us to know is we are our own problem and our own solution, right? And if we're not happy, we're believing something that isn't true. So we also want to cultivate a sense of humor about our human journey. And one of the things we can do here together is smile with each other at our so-called human cleverness that only knows control and clinging, right? Because when we're by ourselves, it can be really imposing. But here, when we see other people going through the same thing, we can smile together like, yeah, I have that too, and I'm learning not to take that so seriously. So loving ourselves means accepting this truth, that we are imperfect. The human being is imperfect by very nature, right? And once we realize this, we can stop trying to be perfect and instead move towards purifying our love towards the imperfect self, right? So I want to pause here for a moment and just breathe together and just see if any of this is stirring something for you, right? Like, what we're trying to do is really look at this complicated human journey in a simple way together for just a short amount of time. Really like open the doors and windows and let the light come in, right? And what's especially welcome are any doubts or any skepticism or any yes buts, right? Like this is a great place for that. We welcome that here.
Well, Brian, you kind of went right to the heart of my, self-love issues.
Mm-hmm.
What came to me was, particularly in me, I think that when there's a part of me that's in extreme distortion, my feeling is that the whole package is also a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And intellectually, I understand that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of me can be in distortion, and other parts of me can be really together.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my wounded child is really in, reaction to something, there's also the possibility that my higher self is still working properly, but it doesn't feel that that's possible when I'm in that reaction, when I'm being triggered.
Yeah.
So, the concept of self-acceptance and just holding space for the distorted part of my personality when it's in reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult exercise.
Most difficult.
Yeah.
When we're triggered, it is most difficult.
Yeah. And there are some behavioral patterns that I think come to the surface when I'm in that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is like obsessive compulsive behavioral patterns. It's like there's this part of me that wants to correct whatever's wrong by being obsessive about something else, you know, keeping something else in order
Anybody resonating with us?
Yeah, keeping something else in order to get whatever's mess back in order.
Right.
You know?
I got to control something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it brings me back to the view about kindness towards self in that moment being the most valuable transformational tool. You see, and what you're putting your finger on, Frank, is the challenge in being kind to the very thing that's driving us nuts, that's making us feel the worst about ourselves. How can we be kind towards ourselves in that moment? Right? Well, I really like slowing the tape down here because this is the nitty-gritty. This is where the rubber hits the road. I mean, this is what really it all boils down to. The inner peace doesn't come from sitting on a meditation cushion. Yeah. It comes from right in that moment where you're so activated, you're ready to bring the house down, right? Or whatever. So what I notice in myself and others I'm privileged to work with is our pride comes in right away. And remember, our pride is a tool of the lower self, right? Which is a real force of nature. It's a real hurricane, right? Like that storm, Yvonne, you were sharing about. And if you can slow the tape down, Frank, enough in that moment, there's likely a place that says, I should be above this by now. Look how much path work I've done. Put those hands up anytime you can relate. Like we're really all human beings here. You see, this is our humble humanity. And yet we take it like a personal failing. And when in that moment we fall into the trap of taking it like a personal failing, we're no longer able to turn to this poor human being that is in great distress. And the kindness that's in us already, that's coming from this spiritual being in this body, our higher self, it's just like not able to say anything because that lower self voice is so loud, beating us up. Right? Look at you. So what is that kindness? Well, it's not something we manufacture. Kindness comes when we take a breath and have some feelings of understanding towards this human being that is really suffering right now. In great pain. And deep down, the human part of us knows that a lot of this pain is self-created, and that just adds to the self-criticism and the self-hatred, right? I can't even get out of my own way. Right? So just to take a breath and pause and turn to ourselves and say, I'm so sorry. Right? Because we're also the one that knows what this feels like. We're the one who's been there all our life with this pattern. Right? And one of the things this part of us feels most acutely is all alone. and then attacks itself for being alone, right? So just the simple presence to say, I'm here with you. I'm sorry. I see what's going on, right? The heart is right there, ready to open up, right? It just needs our willingness. This is what I call the heart's consent, right? Yet it means finding just a small opening in our attachment to the shitstorm, right? That's the other part of it. We get caught up in the shitstorm, and now we're working our pseudo solution. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do something I can control, and I'm going to do it obsessively so I don't have to feel these feelings, right? The pseudo solution, right? So what I noticed in myself, Frank, is this, that basically I was afraid to say, I feel hopeless. I feel overwhelmed. I feel despair. I feel bad about myself. Out of the fear that if I acknowledge those things, now they would just devour me. Right? Yet, you know, it's the very letting those feelings be spoken, right? The energy starts to move, right? Like what I said a few moments ago, like the distress starts to calm itself as soon as we acknowledge it. That's what we really need to keep remembering in these moments, right? So the other practical thing I've discovered for myself is it's so important to catch it right away. Within the first few seconds. Because after 10 or 15 seconds, we're fully lit up, right? We're fully on fire. So what will make this possible is that positive intentionality. I really want to catch myself. I really want to notice right away when I'm starting to get hooked. I really want to take a breath and go, wait a minute. Ah, wow, here I am again. My heart's beating so fast. Ah, right. Like, yeah, this sounds like riding a bicycle. It sounds so simple, but when you're riding a bicycle, you're doing a number of things at the same time, right? Yet you've practiced it enough that you can do it pretty well, right? And I'm taking a lot of your time here just to outline what these key pieces are, and we're doing all at the same time, right? The main ingredient, though, is kindness. And you know, it's not like we ever stop getting hooked. It just doesn't last as long. It doesn't take us over as much, right? And then at some point, we actually can go, wow, I remember what this used to feel like, right? And we can laugh. Right? It takes a while, yet remember, what we're talking about here is no small thing. This is the great human art. Right? And when we come to peace with ourselves, we become a bearer of peaceful energy in the world, right? Like what I was saying about this is how we transform the world. Also, it's just so real. So, you know, whatever is most distressing to you, Frank, out there in the world, this is your version of it in here. And, you know, the beauty of this work is whatever it is, we can find the steps Right. Anything else you want to say from this place, Frank?
I think what you said about kindness to self being the biggest thing that you can give to the world was the most important thing that I heard. And of course, the thought that comes to me is, why is it so much easier to be kind to other people than it is to be kind to yourself? Why is it so much easier to love other people than it is to love yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
Because you don't hate them the way you hate yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So much easier to find the good qualities in other people than it is to find the gem inside yourself.
So, you know, I don't want to go on and on yet. I've got to say, there's also the fact of our negative pleasure, right? Like when we're beating up ourselves, some part of us gets to be the know-it-all. Some part of us gets to be better than, right? All of this is happening at the same time. So who else has something close by here to weave our healing container together with?
I was thinking about why is it that we find it much more easier to find some positive qualities in another than compared to ourselves. Because for me, it's like what is inside of me is a reflection of what's going on outside of me. So it is kind of it's not like the same, because I can relate to what Frank was saying, and I also find it easier to kind of look at other people and say, well, be much more understanding towards others than myself. Just thinking why.
So Saida, remember when you hear why, ask who is it in me that needs help, right? There's somebody in me that needs help, that needs my kindness, right? Like, that feels alone, right? So in that moment of feeling the negative pleasure, we're settling for the only thing we think we can have, which is cruelty. Because there's a electrical charge, a hit that comes with it, right? So there's some way we've turned our back on ourselves in some very specific way. Right? So if you can just be the voice here of the one who's feeling the distress, what is she saying? Without you even thinking about what she's going to say, just let her come up. Microphone.
Okay, what I hear is, it is like, it can be my attachment to my negative this is my negative intentionality, like my negative attachment to what it's like might enjoy doing that to myself.
Yeah, right. And remember, here we say that without shame or embarrassment.
No.
And look at that beautiful smile and burst of pleasure. You see, this is the thing the guide says. If you want to let go of your negative pleasure, you got to really feel the pleasure in it, right?
That's why it's not the first time for me. So that's why I can very much relate to that. So thank you for reminding.
Did that answer your concern? Elisa.
I see that also Esther has raised her hand. I don't want to.
No, please. Well, everybody will have a chance to speak.
Okay. No, I just when you spoke together, Frank and you, I felt so much sadness and compassion. Let's say I was almost up to cry. I was almost up to cry, thinking of this part of me which is getting triggered, and I always, even if I notice it, I use the same pattern, the reactive pattern, and I can observe it meanwhile, but still I don't how important it is in this moment, as you say, to be compassionate with yourself and admit or just be with it and be with it, even if it is difficult. Really, that is, as you say, it is that's the real meditation. That is our block, the most important block we need to fix.
Yeah.
I really very much like the words you used. Unconditional love is an inside job. I think that's marvelous.
Yeah.
But it is so difficult, and for me it is so difficult. It must be so.
Right.
Maybe it is because it is it's going on for I don't know. It's really difficult to grasp these few seconds.
That's right.
The first few seconds. These first few seconds, it is so difficult. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I miss them, and then, as you say, the fire is out.
I like what I call the magic breath. Right. As soon as we notice we're getting hooked, we just take that breath. And what I've noticed, even when I'm with someone it's a tense situation, as soon as I do that, they relax a little. It changes the field, right? The other is to keep finding the energy in this work. Otherwise, it's just a concept, and a concept doesn't really help us. So what I visualize is, like, there's a door that's starting to close that I want to keep open, and I just throw myself into that door. Right? Like, boom, I'm not even holding anything back. Right? That brings up a lot of energy in me. That fuels the kindness, the understanding. Like, I'm not going to let you beat this guy up. No. Then I find myself saying things I never even thought I would say to myself, like, I know this is not your fault. I see you're blaming yourself. I don't judge you. Whoa. Where did that come from? Well, it's the spiritual being in this human body. With my willingness to open up the moment, I've made room for that part to come in. It's there all the time. But when we're grabbing that cup of negative pleasure, it can't do anything.
Sometimes I have the feeling that that is sometimes is also a forcing current, or you're insisting to overcome this thing.
Well, that's a good question. What's the difference between a forcing current of the will, the outer will, and the positive intentionality of the inner will? It's the motivation. The forcing current, which Frank alluded to, like, you know, the preoccupation with tasks, that's like, I want to avoid this. The positive intention is, I don't want to leave this part of me here any further enough. It's that, you know, which is a form of self-love, right? Like, we become our own best friend that we never had, right?
Which can also mean to go out of the situation.
Yeah, like, I'll be back later. I'm going out for a walk. Right, yeah. You see, it's a conscious choice now, because we've taken that half a second and gone, what do I need here? Right. Does that take care of your care and concern here? That you...
Thank you. Yes.
Somebody else was going to say something. Speak up freely. And get used to not knowing what you're going to say until you say it, right? That's one of the things that happens here.
I could say a little something. Hi. I'm so sorry I missed everybody's check-ins this morning, but just nice to see your faces. I think one of the things that was coming up for me listening to Brian was that when we're in that stuck place, sometimes for me, there's this such a deep frustration of like the tragedy, because when I'm not in that place, I know what's possible, you know, like when I'm in, like, sometimes it almost feels like absurd. Like, why are we all in these individual spaces where we're all struggling, and we're all struggling in the same ways, feeling like we're so separate and we're so bad and, you know, we're so unlovable? Because I imagine that we've all had times of the opposite too, you know, of like, and it can be so beautiful. And like, there's something in me that's like, I don't want to waste it, you know, like a close friend of mine just died a week ago. And as sad as I am, death also wakes something up in me, you know, that's so enlivening. And like, it's just every death, every loss is a spiritual awakening. And so my heart is, you know, has been like tenderized this week. And when I know how beautiful life can be, and when I know that every one of us has like infinite possibility to express love and creativity and goodness in the world, then when we do get jammed up, it just feels so frustrating, like this wasted time, you know, like maybe it's that death that right now time feels so precious to me, you know, like I don't want to waste a minute of it, you know. And then I can beat myself, you know, like, you know, why can't you get out of it? You know. Yeah. So
Beth, what you're sharing is really the two sides of the coin in us, right?
Yeah.
My short form description of the path work is realizing we're God and the devil in a three-legged race.
That's great.
And that there is a force of separation inside of us waiting nonstop to turn anything into negativity. That's all it knows, right? And it gets off on making us feel bad about ourselves. And its secret trick is to make us think we're feeling bad because there's something wrong with us.
Well, you know, I also was thinking about, like, you're talking about those times when we're really stuck, but then there's also just like the deep chronic, like the stuff we're not even aware of, like the prison, you know what I mean? Of like our, whatever we haven't even, like I feel like we're all like a walking blind spot, I'm just a walking blind spot. I don't even know what I haven't healed yet, you know? And that sometimes coming up against a challenge in life becomes a blessing, because then it's like it sort of digs into that blind spot. And
we have to look at something we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, and it becomes that opportunity, right? Yeah.
I hate that.
I hate that. The AFOG.
I've done enough.
No more. Yeah.
I want my peace and I want it now.
Well, I had a situation yesterday that the opportunity, I really used the opportunity and it to my benefit. So that's where I'm coming from today.
Yeah.
Like I was facing I was going to spend time with family and all my chronic stuff. I was like, why am I so cranky? Oh, I'm going to see my family. And I realized like how much chronic, like youngest child, you know, like they'll tell some story about something stupid I did, you know, like that place where people like to scapegoat somebody in the family, sometimes the youngest child. And I decided to face it head on, you know, and I looked at like why they do that. And I saw their humanity, like, oh, well, you know, whatever. They're scared, they're insecure, they need to do that. And then I even looked at it in myself and I went, maybe sometimes I am flaky. You know what I mean? like I just was, I don't know, I was able to just be okay with it. And then I went to this event and I had a really nice time and I felt free because I had taken some time to really go like, what is it I freaking hate about this? Like every time we're together, we're all playing these roles and I'm in this role and I'm so sick of it, you know? But I looked at it and I got some freedom.
Yeah,
so sometimes those AFOGs, sometimes they're okay. You know?
Yeah. It works when we work it, right? Like they say in 12-step work.
Yeah. And what you're saying about will, you know, it's so important. Like we have will, we have free will. We can, you know, and it can be negative, but we can also, yeah. Anyway, thank you. Yeah.
Can I chime in here?
Please, of course, Sheila.
You know, I think I really probably would have killed somebody by now if I didn't have the ability to burn off my negative emotion with exercise. And I'm kind of wondering if it's almost like a crutch in the same way some people might have drink a 6-pack of beer or have a quart of ice cream. I'm thinking Friday, I was so angry. I was just like absolutely livid. And I managed to get myself over to the pool and swim as hard as I could for about 75 minutes. And I just come out and I'm just, you know, like reborn. I'm just like all the anger is drained out of me. I feel like I can go home and have a good sleep. I mean, I don't know where I would be without that. But I'm just wondering if it's even a crutch to use it in that way.
My sense is not to overthink it. That what you just described strikes me like a healthy response, right?
Yeah.
The way you felt afterwards, the fact that you took a positive action to deal with your anger. You could have just stewed in it and really fortified your case against life, against whoever, right? So we know when we're being obsessive, right? Like there's some, we can feel a lack of freedom, and I felt freedom in what you were describing in the swimming, and there's some positive pleasure, like in my body, I'm feeling my self-agency, right? Like,
well, it's certainly like I have no intention of giving it up. That's for sure.
There you go.
But there's a part of me that wonders if I'm missing out on some kind of growth opportunity I'm supposed to be having about processing my emotions, because I do have this method for basically dissolving them.
Yeah. So let me say, only you can know. I'm just reflecting back what I observe and what I feel in your energy field. What you described feels positive. you move the energy, and now you're in a place to look at the situation with more objectivity and understanding, right?
Well, I will say that I do believe that anger is very much in distortion. That when we feel anger, we are really in distortion. And I'm aware that I'm usually covering up pain at some level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it was pain, I could just collapse into tears and dissolve it.
Mm-hmm.
But with anger, I feel like I need to take action.
Yeah.
And for me, that action is, you know, on my Stairmaster or in the swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, rather than beating somebody's head in, that's an improvement, right?
So let me add this layer to it, because what you've shared so far sounds positive.
Yeah.
Be curious afterwards. What was that all about? You see?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The understanding that we're seeking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
really
I do believe when the guide says, and I'm paraphrasing perhaps a bit here, that no matter how much it seems like it's the other person, it's not.
That's right.
That's what the guide says. No matter how much it seems like it's the other person.
Yeah.
When you're really, and I'm really in some, you know, the grip of rage, it's really hard to, you know, to accept that. But once I've done my, you know, my 3,600 meters in the pool, I can, you know, I can look at that more reasonably.
So what I want to ask, without anybody having to say anything out loud, is there anybody judging themselves for their own way of coping with anger that they judge not to be as healthy as Sheila's going out and swimming, right? So, you know, here we're learning to smile at ourselves, right, in a kind way, like, wow, the way we spin ourselves into a tight circle.
Well, I guess if I was plunging into a container of ice cream, which I do also, I would be much more aware that I'm doing something unhealthy, you know, that really needs to be dealt with. So it's, but I am in a situation where I am feeling like kind of trapped, and, you know, and I got to find a way out of it, and I don't have an immediate answer.
Yeah. So this is what we were talking about at the beginning. I just invite us to be with you with this feeling of being trapped. Something many of us can also feel. Let's just invite you to close your eyes for a moment, and just all of us, and just any feeling of being trapped, stuck, not free. Just let the feeling be as real as it ever is. And now let the voice of positive intentionality in you say inside yourself, I want to be free. I intend to be free. I want to be free no matter what I have to do. No matter what I have to face.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. You know, this power of positive intentionality really is our human superpower. There's an immediate response. Yet it doesn't mean the problem goes away. It means we have help. Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Esther raised your hand.
It goes up automatic. I raised my hand that I agreed with somebody.
I see.
And then I didn't realize that it had done that. So that's why, but I can talk to, let's see, each person I listened to, and I just sort of lose what's going on with me. Oh, but the negative pleasure, I guess, is what I talk about. And I had recently read the Unhappiness Happiness lecture with how, and I know, like, I like to avoid unhappiness, and I just want happiness. It's the child, and it's also the adult, I think, too. I'm not positive, but recently I got gout, which is pretty painful. And so, like, the pain I can feel. It's day whatever. So I was in touch with that kind of pain and discouraged to get sick. And, oh, I must be not doing something right. But I ended up going to an emergency room, so there I could just surrender. And so I can have had a different viewpoint. But I also know I have this, besides not wanting to be feeling any unhappiness, the lecturer was saying, well, it's like learning to embrace it. So when you said, can we laugh and feel the joy, about some of this, I don't know what I would say, silliness, maybe, that of things that I made up. That's seems like a good thing to do, to be able to have that joy of even in the pain. But I'm not really I know about it, but I can't say I really have accomplished doing that. And so I know I'm sort of attached to this family grief, the women in my family, grief and pain. And thinking, oh, so it's my job to hold this and do something good with it. And, kind of a little my job thing. So I noticed that I just need to let that go too. But I feel I don't know, burden, like, so now I don't even know what I've said. So sometimes I don't feel like I was kind of, in my childhood, I was, didn't speak in school. So sometimes I feel detached from my words. So
I can feel your presence coming through at a deeper level than your words. In the way you were smiling, there was a calm and a stillness and a peace in it as you were sharing that.
Thank you.
Something really flowing in you. You're riding that bicycle, even with the serious challenge of the gout, which is a real challenge.
Because it's from kidneys.
Yeah.
So it's like a tightrope walk.
Yeah.
Like, if you think what the kidneys do, they separate good and evil, or the good and the bad, from our bodies.
Yeah.
And it's I feel victim to my own self and my childhood and everything for wanting to force everything to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And anything could only be good, and then I'd complain like, look at that's not good, but it has to be good.
Right.
So I did that throughout a lot of my life, and so I can just see how it is stuck, came there. And then for 2 kidneys,
Right.
so it was kind of like, wow, so we'll see. I'm like,
what you said, Esther, about the kidneys, Judith Saley, who wrote Creating Union, and also with her husband John rewrote all the lectures, said the pathwork is the kidney of humanity. Right? Like we're willing to filter all those toxins out that other people want to turn away from. So we're getting ready to come in for a landing, and we will stick around for coffee and donuts for anybody who wants to stay for 15 minutes. I invite you to go back inside, gently close your eyes, and visualize as you're going inside, starting with a direction and then stepping into a dimension that is already inside of you, waiting for you, prepared for you. And taking your hands and letting them come down around your belly, right below the navel. Belly is where all our emotions live. 3rd chakra. And visualize all those emotions like a bunch of swimming eels, all swimming around each other and really letting them come into your hands. And then bringing the hand with all those eels up to the heart, the center of compassionate presence, and just watching all those emotions just disappear into the heart like water poured on sand. Letting the hands come up to the forehead and visualizing all the thoughts like ants crawling around on an anthill, all so busy. Again, letting all those thoughts come into the hands and bringing the hands down to the heart, center of compassionate presence in the human being. And just really drinking in whatever freedom is here from the emotions, from the thoughts. And remembering, I can do this anytime. Help me remember. I want to remember. I will remember. And you hear a voice that you know so well, and you smile when you hear it. It says, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. Taking yourself off mute now and letting the hands come up towards the real human beings, fellow travelers here together, and letting yourself say a number of times, really looking at people, I'm here with you.
Here with you.
I'm here with you.
Here with you.
Yeah.
I'm here with you.
And really letting it into like, wow, I'm here with you. You're here with me.
Here with you.
I'm here with you.
I'm here with you.
Here with you.
We're here together.
I'm here with you.
Here with you.
I'm here with you.
I'm here with you.
You're beautiful. And I love you.
So are you, Brian?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
We in the coffee and donuts phase now?
Yeah, they're on the way.
Okay. I hope this one was recorded because I'm going to want to revisit some things, a lot of things you said, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone. I need to leave, and hopefully I'll see you all next month.
Thank you, Kay. Love you.
Bye,
Thank
Kay.
you. Love you
Bye-bye,
too.
Kay.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if this is a coffee and donut question, style of question, but I'm thinking that I need to look more into the whole negative pleasure thing, like look up. I'm wondering if anybody knows offhand what is the lecture. There is a lecture just called Negative Pleasure, isn't there?
I'll do some looking.
It is also part of the lectures. It was quoted actually for today's meeting. 149. It also talks about negative pleasure.
149. Okay, thank you.
149. Cosmic pull towards union, frustration. It also is about negative pleasure. Yes.
Okay.
But there is maybe a more specific one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa.
You're welcome.
It's also 135 and 148 too.
Okay.
Thank you. Wow. Ask and you shall receive, Sheila.
Thank you. Because what you said, Brian, about how you can't really let go of the negative pleasure until you've really experienced it.
The pleasure in it, yeah.
The
Like,
pleasure in
I'm
it.
really enjoying this.
Yeah, I think I've been afraid to do that.
Well, of course, yeah.
I can understand you, Sheila.
It's interesting that that was brought up about negative pleasure, because just recently I've been going through challenges and I can observe myself starting to get very negative and spiraling. But what I didn't notice is that part of me was happy and actually smiling when that was happening. And I thought, what the heck is this? There's a part of me that's actually like, yeah, I'm getting you sucked in, you know, and I never saw it so clearly. And what's so interesting that I noticed with that is then I started to have more compassion for myself as a result of seeing this part of me. It's hard to describe, but when you brought that up, I said, I haven't been here before, but I thought, no coincidence. I watched and listened and learned a lot from this group. And I usually don't speak, but I really had to speak and just say something. So thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm glad you spoke up, Karen.
Who is that speaking? I don't see anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not on camera today. My name's Karen.
Hi, Karen. Nice to meet you.
So, of course, we're not proud of our negative pleasure, right? But remember, our negative pleasure is very proud of itself.
But I think what bothers me about it is the irrationality of it. You know, like I like to think of myself as a rational person, and
yeah,
why would I be taking pleasure in something that's negative, something that's harmful?
So you know me well enough now. Whenever there's a why, it's like who in me. You see, we're making room for something that can exist on both the rational and irrational levels, whereas Y insists on a rational answer. And for negative pleasure, there's a lot of concepts and explanations. They're kind of dry. So I love when the guide says, you don't have to give up your negative pleasure.
You don't.
But just know it's keeping you from having even more pleasure. Right? That's a different kind of motivation. Like, I want more than this junk food of pleasure. I want the real thing. Okay? The negative pleasure is feeling I'm better than someone. The positive pleasure is really seeing the divine being in this other person, you know, and knowing I have that in me too, right? Like, so that's a powerful motivation. And you know, in the Quaker movement that was really popular in the United States in the 18th century. Of course, the Quakers are very big on peace and love and understanding, right? And some of you have heard me say this before, but there's William Penn was a gentleman and a swordsman, wore his fancy clothes and a hat with a feather, and he loved his sword. He was an excellent swordsman. Yet he was drawn to the Quaker movement. Yet he noticed the difference, their simplicity and his adornment, their peaceful nature, and his being a soldier and a swordsman. And he was working personally with George Fox, who was the leader of the Quaker movement. One day he turned to George and said, "George, how long can I keep my sword?" And George looked at him and said, "As long as you can." To me, that really describes our negative pleasure. At some point we go, I don't want it anymore. But that's very different than I should give it up. I need to give it up. I don't want people to know I still have it, right?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I love that one.
Because for people who have a rebellious nature like me, as soon as somebody tells me to do something, I don't want to do it, even if it's part of me telling myself to do it.
Yeah.
Is that where it comes from, the head rather than the heart? That's what it feels like to me.
So another thing I love the guide says is we think we're immature because we have these places. That's why we don't want to look at them. Yet what makes us immature is pretending we don't. Turning to these places in us where we're not developed more fully yet, and just looking at them and seeking understanding what they need, how to free them, which only we can do. That is great maturity.
Oh, that feels so much more loving too. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could feel a little bit of loyalty to the negative pleasure. It's not love.
Mm-hmm.
Loyalty to the family. To carry that. It's not, it's mixed up.
I think sometimes the feeling of negative pleasure that I get is actually, now this gets complicated, but it's actually almost like a positive negative pleasure, in the sense that if you fully accept the negative, there is a certain pleasure just in the fact that you have accepted it.
Yeah.
You're no longer resisting it. You're no longer fighting against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Of course you know what I mean. But so that can feel a sort of a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the pleasure in the thing itself, but in the fact that you are no longer resisting what is.
Or judging yourself.
Well, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, judging ourselves is a form of resistance, right? Anyway, consider
Okay.
that you're doing great with it, Sheila. What you just described is great. And you notice how you were affected when I said about the self-judgment, because it's an ongoing development in us, right? Like there's always some remnant of self-judgment because it was so deeply impressed into our being at such an early age. Yeah.
Right, that you need to be a certain way.
Yeah. That there's something wrong with you the way you are, right?
You know, Yvonne, I think I'm feeling like I've met you before. Were you at the Goodbye Seven Oaks weekend?
I was not.
You were not? Okay. I'm not sure why. It seems like I know you.
Yvonne is a Seven Oaks Pathwork veteran. I'm sure you ran into her.
Probably at Seven Oaks at one time. I might have both been there. We've not spoken, but you're actually you're somebody I stalk on Facebook a lot. I admire you immensely. Wow. Your courage and your willingness to stand against the crowd is inspiring for me.
Wow.
Thank you
so much.
I'd actually hoped you would have been here today. So thank you for acknowledging me so I could share that with you.
I didn't realize I was being stalked on Facebook. I'm flattered.
I probably look up your page at least once a week just to catch up with what you've put on. And when they put you in Facebook jail, it's like, you keep going, Sheila.
Wow.
And I would like to make 2 points around this discussion. One is I have been watching the interaction between my tyrant and my victim stage, and so much judgment towards the tyrant for years, and feeling really sorry for that victim. And as I started to loosen up on the tyrant more and more and just say, okay, I'm seeing where this is coming from, the stories. The victim looks over at me once and has this smirk on her face, how much she loves being a victim and the negative pleasure in that. So that was a big revelation for me to see not only the negative pleasure, like I'm going to get you, but also that part of me that is getting pleasure out of being gotten.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I really appreciate the whole talk about the negative pleasure, because that's an important part of it. Until we see it, and I'm going to quote Jesus. He said, why are you looking at the splinter in your brother's eye when you have this log in your eye?
Yeah.
Until we see it, we can't do anything with it.
And you cannot let it go if you don't see it.
Especially if you want to hold on to it and you're getting so much pleasure. Yeah.
Doesn't Jesus say, don't worry about the log in your neighbor's eye, but the splinter in your own? I'm pretty sure he's saying you worry about the tiny little imperfection in yourself rather than the major imperfection in somebody else.
No, I think he's pointing out you have the major imperfection to look at, not the other person.
Okay, I'll look it up. Where do you live, Yvonne?
Daleville, Virginia.
Where are you?
It's right outside of Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
We're going to pause in a moment. Yet, Yvonne, what you said about feeling both ends of the negative pleasure, that's where the liberation
yes.
arrives, right? So whatever each of our negative pleasure is, right, to also make room, just like Yvonne pointed out, there's one who's getting off on beating up on us, and there's one who's getting off on being beaten. And for some of us, one is harder to face than the other.
I'm just learning so much. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks. It was last minute, so thank you.
Yeah, great. Come back, everybody.
Yeah, that's all really rich stuff. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm gonna head out.
Bye, everyone.
And
Thank
I
you,
feel
Brian.
the co-responsibility in it.
Great to be here.
Thank you, Brian, for
Come back, y'all.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Take your
Brian.
time going, but hurry back.
Bye-bye.
We will.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.